Today, I'm pleased to announce nominations and staff for critical foreign policy and national security positions in my administration. It's a team that will keep our country and our people safe and secure. And it's a team that reflects the fact that America is back, ready to lead the world, not retreat from it. Once again, sit at the head of the table.
President-elect Joe Biden unveiling new cabinet nominees this week. Among them, many familiar faces from his days in the Obama administration, including some key picks for his national security team, which might just prove reassuring after such a tense last 4 years. And what looks to be a tense 53 days left of the Trump presidency, as a top Iranian nuclear scientist was killed on Friday in an apparent assassination. Iran has pledged revenge, meaning that Biden's new cabinet-level national security picks are already facing a potential conflict in the region before they even take office. Joining me now to discuss these latest cabinet selections and the challenges ahead on the world stage, Democratic Representative Andy Kim of New Jersey. He's a member of the House Subcommittee on Readiness and the Subcommittee on Intelligence, Emerging Threats and Capabilities. Congressman Kim, good to see you again. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Congressman, let's talk about this. There are a bunch of things that could worry Americans. The more distant is that we need to reestablish America's presence on the world stage as a leader, as an honest broker, or even just a broker between warring factions or adversaries. But we have some immediate crises. We got China, we've got Russia, we've got China and Taiwan doing things, we've got North Korea, and most immediately we have Iran that says it's looking for revenge for the killing of their top nuclear scientist. Nobody's taken credit for his killing. Typically, if it were America, America does take credit for these things. Iran seems to be suggesting it's Israel. Israel has not taken credit for this. But the bottom line is that is a tinderbox waiting to happen, and we don't have a new administration in office yet.
You're absolutely right. This is such a dangerous place, and presidential transitions are already times of such concern, given that other countries, other actors could try to test us, try to take advantage of the situation. It's so important right now that we do everything we can to try to make sure that we are not escalating situations that could provoke that kind of retaliation, that kind of conflict that we know we cannot stand right now. So these are the types of steps that we need to make sure we're moving forward on. President-elect Biden is doing everything that he can to reassure the world that American global leadership is coming back and that we're going to have a steady hand at the wheel. And now we need to make sure that we are holding that down for 53 more days.
You were a diplomat. You worked in the White House under President Obama. You've worked on issues in Asia and the Middle East. Are you worried? I'm a little bit worried that Donald Trump may be pursuing something that looks a bit like a scorched earth policy as he leaves, pulling out the troops from Afghanistan on January 15th, 5 days before the new administration is sworn in. I don't know what role America has had in Iran, but in this last event in Iran, but Donald Trump has been highly inflammatory toward Iran, and there are reports that he was considering a strike on Iran again before the inauguration. It doesn't really make sense to be doing these things in the last 53 days of one's administration.
Well, the president has not shown any indications that he's at all interested in a successful transition here. You know, we have seen him on the national security side making decisions just in his own interest, and this is something that we are continuing to see at this stage. So what we need to make sure, and I hope that his allies and his supporters are pushing him to do so, is to show that we need to make sure that we have that kind of successful transition as possible. The Biden team is ready. I've worked with many of them in the Situation Room before. Tony Blinken, Jake Sullivan, Avril Haines. This is a group of top officials that I have the faith in to be able to guide us through these tough times. They just need to be given every opportunity to be able to do so. And that is what I hope to see happen.
What do you think about the names in contention for Defense Secretary? We're hearing Michelle Flournoy, we're hearing General Lloyd Austin, and others. What's your take?
Well, I think that those are all great names. These are people that have been tested. These are people that know how to make a decision. These are people that understand what is at stake. And that is what I see across the board with what the Biden team has put together, is that this is a team that understands what is at stake and what needs to happen for us to be able to do what the American people are entrusting us to do, which is save lives. Whether that it's about responding to the COVID crisis, or whether that's all these other crises around the world. Right now here in New Jersey, 1 out of every 582 people in New Jersey has died of the coronavirus. Over one out of every 1,250 Americans in this country has died of the coronavirus crisis. This is a national security crisis, and the Biden team is positioned to be able to come in and understand that and recognize that and respond with the urgency that's needed.
Congressman, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Democratic Congressman Andy Kim from New Jersey's 3rd District. Thank you, sir. Have yourself a great weekend.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.